We are inching closer and closer to the start of the NBA season, and in Boston, the excitement is starting to boil over. With training camp underway and players finally getting reps in, the first real glimpses of this new Celtics squad are starting to surface. And let me tell you, from the early buzz coming out of camp, this team might look very different from the slower, more methodical Celtics we've seen over the past few seasons. Coach Joe Mazzulla seems ready to flip the script. We're not talking minor tweaks here. We're talking about a total stylistic shift, one that's built on speed, aggression, and a relentless motor from the opening tip to the final buzzer. Reports coming out of camp have one common theme: pace. This isn't just coach speak or some off-season fluff piece. We're hearing it directly from the players, guys like Peyton Pritchard and others, that the Celtics are playing at a breakneck speed in practice. For years, Boston has been among the slowest teams in the league in terms of pace. In fact, since drafting Jason Tatum back in 2017, they haven't cracked the top half of the league in that category. Last year, they were second to last. But now, Mazzulla is apparently drawing inspiration from hockey. Yes, hockey, with his idea of rotating 4 players in and out in waves, constantly keeping fresh legs on the floor to maximize pressure on both ends. That kind of aggressive, line-shifting approach isn't just about keeping guys rested. It's about overwhelming the opponent, pushing the tempo, and creating chaos. Initially, it sounded like this philosophy was going to show up mostly on the defensive side, picking guys up full court, pressuring ball handlers, and forcing turnovers. But it's becoming clear this is just as much about the offense as it is about defense. The Celtics want to run, not just in transition, but in every aspect of their offensive flow. They want to get into their sets quicker, move the ball faster, and avoid those slow, stagnant possessions that have haunted them in recent playoff runs. It's a complete mentality shift. Think less half-court chess match and more drag race from start to finish. There's a growing belief around the league that playing fast isn't just a tool for teams lacking talent. In fact, the opposite might be true. While slowing the game down used to be a way for underdog teams to control tempo and limit mistakes, today's NBA is showing that more talented teams can actually benefit more from speeding things up. With fewer possessions, the margin for error shrinks, and that often favors teams with players who can create and make tough shots. But when you increase the number of possessions, you give your elite offensive weapons more opportunities to do what they do best. For Boston, that means letting guys like Tatum and Jaylen Brown get into rhythm, find mismatches early in the shot clock, and apply constant pressure. There's a clear precedent for this strategy working. Just look at the Chicago Bulls during the second half of last season. They weren't exactly running line shifts like hockey, but they played with an intensity and pace that wore teams down. They weren't relying on elite shooting or ISO-heavy sets. They simply ran opponents into the ground. By the fourth quarter, their opponents were gassed. That's the exact kind of edge the Celtics could lean into, especially with their depth. If you can keep running all game, while the other team struggles to keep up, you're going to find advantages late in close games. This isn't just about tempo. It's about survival of the fittest. It reminds me of something you'd see in baseball. You know, when a team has been seeing 95-mile-per-hour fastballs for days, and then suddenly they face a knuckleball pitcher throwing 55 miles per hour, that disruption to the rhythm throws off even the best hitters. That's what Boston is aiming for, a style of play that throws teams out of sync. If you're not used to facing a team that plays this fast and this physical, you're going to feel it by the time the fourth quarter rolls around. And the Celtics are banking on being the team that still has gas left in the tank. The interesting thing is, this isn't just about conditioning or hustle. It's also about decision-making. Josh Minot, one of the players hoping to carve out a role in this rotation, said something very telling in camp, that the team wants no lag time in any decisions. Whether it's taking the ball out after a make or pushing in transition, they want to operate with speed and purpose in everything. That's the kind of detail that shows this isn't just an empty slogan. It's being drilled into the DNA of this group from day one. It's a fascinating experiment when you think about the core of this team. Tatum has often thrived in a slower, more deliberate offensive system. He's a player who likes to find his spots, use footwork, feel out his defender, and create. And while that's worked for him, The hope now is that he can maintain that efficiency in a faster-paced system. Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, seems like a perfect fit for this new approach. He's one of the most explosive athletes in the league, and reportedly, he's in the best shape of his life after fully recovering from that lingering knee issue. If he can operate in the open court more often, we might see an even more dangerous version of JB this year. And let's not ignore the supporting cast. Guys like Nimi Izqueta, Xavier Tillman, and Luka Garza might not be household names, but they bring energy, toughness, and now, surprisingly, some shooting. Reports out of camp suggest Tillman, in particular, is looking sharp. He's healthy, hitting corner threes, and could potentially stretch the floor in a way that gives Boston even more flexibility in their lineups. And if those backup bigs can hold their own, especially in a system that covers up some of their individual flaws through pace and effort, that raises the ceiling of this team substantially. It's especially intriguing when you look at Josh Minot's situation. After spending time buried on the bench in Minnesota, he's now in a position where he might actually play meaningful minutes in Boston. John Hollinger from The Athletic made a compelling case that Minot is a player to watch, and it makes sense. With the Celtics potentially looking to shed salary and trim their roster by the trade deadline, a guy like Sam Hauser could be on the move. If that happens, Minot would have a clear path to rotation minutes at the 4. He's only 22, but if he can shoot just well enough to stay on the floor and defend multiple positions with his athleticism, he could quietly become one of the surprise contributors on this team. There's definitely a lot of wait and see around the back half of this Celtics roster. Beyond the core rotation guys, Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Pritchard, and potentially Simons, the rest of the depth chart is filled with players who either haven't proven it yet or are coming off inconsistent roles elsewhere. Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez, Baylor Sherman, those are question marks. But that's what makes this training camp and preseason so interesting. This isn't a situation where 10 rotation spots are locked in already. There's real competition. And in a system that rewards speed, energy, and decision-making, the guys who are willing to buy in might just find themselves climbing the ladder faster than expected. And while we're on the topic of energy and optimism, it's not just the Celtics making moves. Jonathan Kuminga just locked in a brand new deal with Golden State, signing a 2-year extension worth nearly $50 million. It includes a team option and a clause that allows the Warriors to rip up and renegotiate the contract next summer. That means if they want to keep things flexible, they can. But it also means Kuminga can't be traded until mid-January, so any trade machine dreams involving him are on pause for now. Golden State has been vocal about his development and how important he is to their future. Last season, it felt like he was on the verge of breaking out, but never quite got the consistent minutes. Maybe this year, with the deal done and expectations clearly defined, we'll finally see him take that leap. Back to Boston, though. It's clear that this team isn't just trying to run it back and hope for better luck. They're actively trying to evolve. The idea of a top-heavy roster carried by stars still applies, but this coaching staff seems determined to squeeze every last drop out of the rest of the group. The early signs point to a Celtics team that's not just deep, but dangerous. Dangerous because they're going to make you uncomfortable. Dangerous because they're changing the tempo. And dangerous because when you've got talent and effort working together with a clear identity, you become a real problem. And listen, we're still early. These are practices. We haven't seen this pace in live game action yet, but you can feel the shift. The questions now are about execution, conditioning, and buy-in. Can the stars adapt to a faster system? Can the younger players step up and contribute? Can the bigs stay mobile enough to keep up with this pace? Those are the storylines that are going to define the early part of the season. Let's not forget, too, there's still roster movement that could happen. The trade deadline could reshape the rotation depending on who gets moved or what needs to be adjusted for financial reasons. But as of now, the Celtics are gearing up for something new, something faster, something more chaotic, and that might just be the spark they've been missing. So let's keep going, because this shift toward playing faster isn't just a stylistic choice. It's going to affect everything from rotations to matchups to how this team holds up across an 82-game season. If Boston truly commits to this style, we're going to see some serious ripple effects. and not just in the box scores. This is a philosophical adjustment, and it could be the defining narrative of their season. First off, let's talk about how this changes late-game scenarios. One of the knocks on the Celtics in the past has been their execution in crunch time. Too often, they get into these slow, ISO-heavy possessions that stalled out. Tatum or Brown would get the ball with 10 seconds left on the clock, and everything would come to a grinding halt. It was predictable, easy to defend, and more often than not, it ended in a contested jumper. But in a system that's built on pace and quick decisions, there's less time for the defense to set up. There's less time for doubt to creep in. That speed creates an instinctive environment where decisions are made in motion, not after 5 seconds of dribbling. And that could be huge for a team that has struggled at times with late-game fluidity. But here's the trade-off. When you play fast, you burn more energy. You're asking for nonstop movement, quick cuts, relentless defensive pressure, and full-court sprints, night in and night out. That takes a toll. And in Boston's case, it raises an interesting question. How sustainable is this over a full season, especially for a team with championship aspirations? You don't want to peak in December. You don't want your core guys burn out by February. So depth becomes critical. If you're going to play this way, you need 10, 11, maybe even 12 players ready to give you real minutes. You need waves of contributors who can step in and keep the energy up without a major drop-off in execution. That's why the development of the younger guys and the contributions from the back end of the roster are more important than ever. This isn't just about whether Jordan Walsh can become a rotation player. It's about whether he can do it in a system that requires motor, speed, and intelligence. It's about whether a guy like Baylor Sherman, entering his second year, can adapt to a role that might be different from what he's used to. Whether Hugo Gonzalez, raw but talented, can find a way to impact games without needing the ball in his hands. All of these guys could end up playing real minutes this season. Not because they're being force-fed opportunities, but because the system demands fresh legs and live bodies. It also makes players like Peyton Pritchard more valuable than ever. If he really has taken another leap this offseason, and all signs suggest he has, then he becomes a key piece in this high-octane puzzle. Pritchard already plays with incredible pace, he shoots well, and he's got that gritty edge that fits perfectly with the tone Boston is trying to set. If he's more consistent and has improved his decision-making, then he could end up being one of the most impactful role players on the roster. That's not an exaggeration. In a fast-paced system, having a guard who can push tempo without turning the ball over, who can hit from deep and finish at the rim, is gold. Another guy who might shine in this environment is Anthony Simons. If the Celtics really do unlock this new brand of basketball, a player like Simons, with his scoring instincts and ability to attack in transition, could have a breakout year. He's got the tools to thrive in chaos. And that's what this system creates, a level of controlled chaos that forces defenses to scramble, switch, and react instead of dictating. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. Boston fans are buzzing with excitement as whispers grow louder. Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning superstar and two-time NBA MVP, may be packing his bags for the Celtics. Sources close to the player hint that the Greek freak has given a tentative yes to joining the storied franchise, sending waves of speculation through the league. While no official announcement has been made, insiders suggest that conversations between Giannis and Boston management have been ongoing, and the chemistry seems promising. The prospect of Giannis in green and white is enough to ignite imaginations. Boston, known for its championship pedigree and passionate fan base, suddenly looks like a prime destination for a player seeking both legacy and glory. If the deal materializes, the Celtics would instantly vault into serious title contention, pairing Giannis' unmatched combination of size, speed, and versatility with Boston's existing core. Rumors hint that the front office has been working tirelessly behind the scenes, crafting a package that could satisfy both the Bucks and the star forward. League insiders are already speculating about the seismic impact this move would have. Analysts point out that adding Giannis to Boston's roster could shift the balance of power in the Eastern Conference, potentially creating a new dynasty. Social media is ablaze with reactions ranging from disbelief to sheer excitement, as fans flood Twitter and forums with mock-up jerseys, highlight reels, and bold predictions. Celtics legends, too, are being drawn into the narrative, with some offering cryptic but tantalizing comments that fuel the frenzy even more. Of course, skepticism remains. The Bucks are unlikely to let go of their superstar without a fight, and any trade would require careful negotiation. Questions linger about fit, cap space, and how Giannis' style of play would mesh with Boston's system. Yet the mere hint that the Greek freak has whispered yes to a move north is enough to send the rumor mill into overdrive. In a league where superstars dictate headlines, the idea of Giannis Antetokounmpo in Boston is a story that refuses to quiet down. Fans are left waiting, hoping, and imagining. A single word from the star could change the NBA landscape forever. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Boston Celtics, please subscribe to our channel and give the video a like. We always appreciate your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.